hiding behind it so much, because when I watched them, I had no idea what was going to happen. I knew, you know, it was somebody in a nail bar, but then I watched it for the first time, and that's what you saw in the clip, and honestly, it's incredible.
How much of it is made up, and how many of these incidents that we see have actually happened?
All of the clips and the What Not to Do, they're all based on real-life stories from disabled people. Obviously, these, you know, these are extremes. You know, like that one there, I'd really love to think, like, oh, my goodness. But, yeah, they are all based on real-life stories that disabled people had sent into
the things that have happened, and they've all been sort of jammed together.
Do you know what I like about it is that these videos, they're funny, they're cringing, they're extreme, but they're not preaching, they're not telling people, you know, this is what you should do, you should feel bad if you've ever done this. It's kind of going to an extreme place, a funny place, to make light of it.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you, actually, because it is clear that there isn't sort of, you know, prescriptive advice.
But there isn't prescriptive advice when you meet anybody. I think any social interaction, you know, if you're on the train talking to someone, I think that's awkward, disabled or not. That's just kind of the way we are in this country, and I think that when there's awkwardness around disability, and when you meet somebody different for the first time, you see something different, I think it's our human nature just to be a little bit curious. I'm the same, you know. If I meet somebody with an arm missing, that doesn't mean I still think, what am I going to do here? And that's coming from me as a disabled person.
So 2/5 of people, because there was a survey done for it, 2/5 of disabled people have been asked, what's wrong with you, by a person who isn't disabled.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's just, do you know what, I think sometimes, you know, we're quite a polite society, and I think more often than not, these awkward moments are born out of trying to do the right thing, and you overcompensate. And, you know, I'd like to think the stuff like it it's not come from, like, a bad place.
But people sometimes aren't sure whether to use the word disabled or whatever, so should you say, what's your disability, or...?
Yeah, do you know what, like, I think there's just such an overbearance of political correctness, and you know, you can overthink stuff too much. I just think if you meet anybody, just treat them, you know, as you would anybody else. A disability is just one aspect of somebody. So, you know, it's like if you talk to someone, they've got a massive spot on their head, you're thinking straight away, don't look at the spot, don't look at the spot, don't look at the spot. And before you know it, you're looking at it, and then it's...
And to be fair to them, they're probably thinking, I hope they're not looking at my spot.
Exactly. And, you know, I just think this campaign is about kind of showing this issue in a bit of light, but also as well kind of making people realise that, you know, it is just one aspect of a person's personality, and you can move on from it. And I don't think there's no, like, somebody said to me, right, what are the rules of meeting a disabled person? I wouldn't be able to tell you, and that's coming from
because
a disabled person.
I suppose the difficulty, what it seems to be, certainly from the films, is that it becomes the overriding topic of conversation. Not only is it the elephant in the room, but it's the only object in the room people feel they can talk about.
You know, I've had people, you know, with my hands, I remember when I used to work at Tesco, and until people always used to ask me, you know, how it happened and stuff like that, and, you know, sometimes they'll ask, and then they'll give you their suggestion of what they thought had happened anyway, so it was just, you know, what happened was, you know, was it something to do with, like, animals? It's just like, we're in Kent, do you know what I mean? We're not in... You know, we're not in a safari park. There's not an extreme story to this. It's just
once I started watching them, so I watched one, and they're sort of, they're so interesting to. They're really.
What I love is the other people's reactions.
Yes, which is brilliant. That's sort of why you want to watch, isn't it? Because they feel the horror that perhaps as viewers.
It is. It's kind of it's cringy, but you just kind of can't stop looking at it and watching.
It's very good.
And there are some pretty awful things, really. I mean, there's the job interview when somebody, one of the candidates has dwarfism, and
and she's the head of HR, and the guy goes and picks her up and puts her on the seat, and it's just, I mean, I couldn't help but laugh at it. Obviously, you know, it's an extreme situation, and I'd like to think that there aren't dwarves being picked up and put on seats around the country this morning.
Although in Australia they have dwarf throwing contests, of course, sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Well, I really hope that doesn't go on here. That's the Aussies for you.
Yeah.
And then another one was when they have a loo, which is just for only one person.
Yeah, there's a guy with an arm missing who goes, and the woman's set up his own toilet, and she calls herself his bog buddy, which is just... But, you know, I was really lucky when I went into it. You know, when I used to be a journalist, the people that managed me, they asked me, is there anything you need? And because I'm quite open about it. And I do think sometimes, you know, as a disabled person, you do need to kind of be a little bit more open and maybe not overcompensate, but you've got to kind of put people at ease. And that's just the way it is, and that's something I've always tried to perpetuate myself.
Well, maybe that's the key, rather than telling people what they should do. Just saying,
exactly.
maybe that was the question to ask, wasn't it? What can we help you with?
With these videos as well, if it had been preaching, it would have been making people feel bad about the way they've acted, then I wouldn't have wanted to do them. But what I love about these is they're light-hearted, and as a disabled person myself, I kind of learn a little bit from them. The more time I spend around other disabled people, I kind of educate myself a little bit as well, and it's just no different. It's just one aspect.
I suppose a good thing also is that you know, people can watch these things and say, "Oh right, I'm not the only one who puts my foot in it."
Exactly.
And we're talking about it.
Yeah, and it's good to have that conversation. And I'd like to think of it. There'll come a day when I remember when I first went on television, I was always known as in articles as disabled presenter. Now, more often than not, it's just presenter, and it's a big thing. It's to see past it and just think, this is just, same as anybody else, really. And I have to do that. I've spoken to people with cerebral palsy who have, like, speech problems, and I'm stood there, and I'm really, thinking about it. So this isn't about shaming or anything like that. I love the videos. I'm so proud to have been part of the End the Awkward campaign last year and this year, because I think this has stepped it up a notch. And given the work I do on Last Leg as well.
That's what I was going to say, because Last Leg has a very clear approach, doesn't it? Using humour.
Yeah, and with Adam Hill's, the host, with his prosthetic leg, and with mine, we talk about it. But the thing about Last Leg is we have a lot of humour on the channel. We make fun of it.
You have a lot of laughs at some people's expense, and that's where we'll leave
some
lovely clips.
The What Not to Do short films are available to watch on the All 4 website. That's it from us for this morning. We're back tomorrow from 6.
Are you not talking anymore?
No. Bye.